listening to IBNX. IBNXradio.com.
Tuesday, and you are definitely in the purple with your girl, in love, and live life in the purple. Love That's Network, IBNXradio.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Our job is to bring you the most dynamic, the most high energy, the most high vibe radio talk show in the world! Yay! Our team's mission is to bestow upon you, our beautiful listeners, the gift of positivity. 2 hours of thought-provoking dialogue, honest commentary, riveting discussions relating to issues common to entrepreneurs and today's entertainers. We've got it all. Industry news, inspiration, positive news, motivation, history, hope, interviews with awesome people, and yes, there shall be poetry. We've got a positive and inspiring guest on deck for you today in the studio, looking at me with baby blues or baby brown? Baby brown.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Well, now we're talking chocolate browns with Miss Melissa Carter, radio vet and author. She's here to be the sole responsibility of Ms. Marilyn Pierce for Author Speak. The entire team is here. So without further ado, let me tell you who's in the room. To my left, Rebel Queen.
What's up, what's up? I know I'm sounding a little bit sad today, it's just a little hoarse, little allergies, but my sky is still purple.
There you go. Sky is purple.
That's right.
And coming on around the room, what's up, Marilyn Pierce?
I am excited. Yes. All right. Living life in the purple and enjoying the energy. So glad for the show today.
Thank you. And of course, say hello to Melissa Carter.
Hello. Well, first of all, let me apologize because I have blue on. It's an element of purple, but purple is my favorite color. So hopefully, my heart is purple. How's that?
What color is the sky in your world?
Purple.
There you go.
That's it.
That's all that's needed. And I don't know how to act. You know, if Melissa wasn't enough, one of my very dearest friends is in the room, Miss Vera Latham. Oh, did I tell your government name? I'm so sorry. We don't have you. They know where you are now. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I'm using my name.
From South Carolina.
There we go, Vera.
Kakalaki.
Yay.
There you go. And of course, we got our very own behind the glass, in control again, King Blacksmith. Thank you so much. Only one Tippy is in the house.
In the house.
Yes, that's right. We got Mr. Director himself, Keith. So our crew is here. We are ready for you to do what we do. And this is all for you. I got a little bit of housekeeping for you. So, of course, you can watch us live on YouTube. Should you have to leave your phone or your computer or whatever way you're listening to us on TuneIn, you can listen to us. And so we're mobile. We're completely mobile for you. If you want to see us, of course, go to YouTube and find IBNX Radio Network. Please hit subscribe, and they'll let you know whenever we're on. For those of you who are listening and watching, if you have to leave and you want to take us mobile, you can listen by phone, 678-648-IBNX. That's 4269. If you hear anything that you want to call me in on, you can hit us up. You're going to say,
be careful what you ask for.
I know. Call in 678-688-IBNX-4269. Choose extension 1. Of course, we're always releasing hot new music. We love indie artists and the hard work they do for us. So Kia Nicole, our very own Kia Nicole, is debuting her song with us today. So y'all hang out for that. Of course, Love Speaks is up. I'm talking to you about my life because I love you. So y'all hang out, chill out. We'll be right back. Tell a friend, tag a friend that Positivity Zone. Live Life in the Purple on the IBNXradio.com network.
Hi, this is Happy Rico, and you're listening to in love, in red 5, in the purple. Positivity is a movement, baby.
Hello, my Purple Nation. Live Life in the Purple is pleased to announce its new sponsor. We are now supported by Purple Door Creations. Purple Door Creations is an incubator for creatives. 5 brands under one roof. Purple Door Creations, making the world beautiful, one dream at a time. Today is a good day to believe in yourself. Hi, this is In Love. By now, you may know that I released a few audio recordings of my poetry entitled Sounds from a Purple Mind. You know, poetry is a deeply personal and artful expression, and it takes courage to share it publicly. I am proud that I am able to use a portion of the sales from this project for local charities. For those who have purchased and shared generously in giving back, I thank you. If you would like to leave a review, please go to the Facebook page for MLove, that is MLUV, all caps, to leave a review or to stay in touch with me. If you would like to be a part of supporting community charities by purchasing the project, please contact me for a hard copy or go to bandcamp.com and search for Sounds from a Purple Mind. Thank you for supporting the arts community and the MLove Poetry Project. Peace. It has been said that there's a time for everything under the sun. Well, right now, sit back and relax, because it's time for Love Speaks with In Love. What's up? This is No Rest to Progress. And I brought this up because I was inspired by reading Rumi. And he's an ancient poet, and poetry is life for most of everybody in this room. And so I learned so much. So let's start off with some Rumi, and let's see what I got out of it. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. Wow, I love that. You are energy. And all your flaws is still beautiful. So from that, it caused me to reflect on how fast life moves. Blazing speed your life goes by. If you do not slow it down by getting out of the rat race in some way, get into nature, go on a vacation, go on a staycation, do whatever it takes. What I usually say is go where you can hear the voice. And for me, that's by water. That's in nature. Go there. If you don't do that, you will be swept along by the current of life. You will find yourself somewhere that is unrecognizable, with people that you're like, how did I get here? What am I doing? Okay, that's an exaggeration, but it's true. You will not know soon that time has passed and you are entering another year of life. So I had to do that. You've got to check in periodically. I check in with myself at certain mile markers. I go in, I ask questions, I wait, and then I listen for the answers. Birthdays are great markers for that. So my birthday was September the 8th, which was the perfect time for me to take inventory of my thoughts, go inside and throw away what no longer serves you, get something out that, and repurpose it, just like we do in our home, right? Figure out someplace else for something, realign things, move things around, and get back to your life. Self-care is what I'm talking about. It's critical for all of our entrepreneurs, for everyone, really. So that's what I did. Now, since poetry is my language of choice, I use it as a lens to look at myself and to communicate my thoughts to you. So using poetry is how I communicate. So that's what I did. I immersed myself in the poetry world. But first, let's get back to some other critical care that I took stock of in my last birthday. So my body. When I asked myself and I went within and said, how am I taking care of my body? I had to get tough and make changes. I got serious with breaking up with meat. And I treated it like you do relationships. I flirted with the thought of giving it up, you know, while eating a burger. I flirted with the thought of, can I live without this meat? And I told a couple of people I trusted that I was considerate, and we talked about the pros and cons while eating meat. And finally did what we do in relationships. You finally get tired of it and did the cold turkey bye-bye burgers. That was big for me. Bye-bye chicken. Oh. But just like letting go of a narcissistic or harmful relationship is something that you have to do. And there's always your Achilles heel. What will bring you back into the pond? And I tell you, I have one. So in my breakup with me, it was bacon. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it, because bacon satisfies something so deep inside of me. It's primal. It's primal. And I had to break up with it and make up with it before you can let go. Lord help me, I was weak. Just smelling it, I can't. Anyway, the test was to go to Waffle House and see was I ready to let go of bacon. And yes, someone else ordered for me, because if I opened my mouth when the waitress asked me, I was going to say bacon, like I always did and have done for years. Who doesn't say bacon when you go to Waffle House? Anyway, so like in wartime, you have to do whatever it takes to win your battle. So someone else ordered for me. But now I'm reporting from my self-care checklist that I can now go to Waffle House and now order bacon. And I order for myself. Yay! I'm bacon-free and I'm meat-free. Okay. The next Rumi quote that reminds me at my check-in says, "The moon stays bright when it doesn't avoid the night." Don't run away from your challenges is what I got from that. So now let's go into my inner self. I can see the growth in myself, not just the changes, the growth. The gray hairs are sprouting. There are new aches and pains, and I had to figure out how to deal with my darkness. I finally came to grips with the fact that I can no longer just reach for something over my left shoulder without pain. It just doesn't, you're getting later into the 40s, it just doesn't happen anymore. And so you have to adjust. I also have adjusted to the fact that when I drop something, I just can't pick that up right now. There's a time to pick things up, because I'm well past 45, and bending over every 3 minutes, I'm extremely clumsy. It's not practical. It hurts. So there are little piles of things that I will pick up somewhere around midday. There's like 3 times I can pick things up. And I had to change the way I did my life. Physical pain taught me that it's okay to modify. It's okay to modify. You may have to ask somebody. And I become my grandma, "Baby, can you get that for me?" And it's okay. It's okay. I forgive myself for that. The bigger obstacle, pride. So I had to take pride out and talk to her and look at her a different way, because we knocking on 50, we about ready to kick 50 in the throat. We got to talk about some things about our life. To see the inner changes, you have to be in situations that test you. You are not going to see your changes in your same old. You're not going to see your changes being the big fish in the little pond. You have to go outside of your comfort zone. And when it hurts, and when it's embarrassing, and when your knees shake, you're in the right arena, take a seat. And I did that this past week. I decided to follow the path and see what poetry was to be for me. And I've done open mics around here, but September the 6th was my first feature. Thank you, Siobhan, Reflective Soul series, and all those that came out. It was really, really hard to do. I had to get over myself and get out of my way. There's a lot of talent in Atlanta, and it is intimidating, to say the least. You go to these open mics, and people are just amazing. Opening yourself in front of the microphone is easy for me now, because I don't see y'all. And when I look, I'm looking at friends in the studio. But being on stage and being open and writing about my pain and my challenges and my growth, oh my gosh. So it was really hard, but it's been an eye-opener for me that I faced myself and won. So I joined my friend and fellow Purple Door Creations PDC member, Yo Sister. We went on a little small southern tour this past weekend. We hit Augusta and a few mics and went up to Greenville. It was intimidating and nerve-wracking because the people and poets that we were seeing were award-winning poets. And here I was, stepping up to the mic. And if you ever got behind the mic after Your Sister hit it, it's hot. It's hot. And I had to bring it, and here I am bringing my calmness, right, my countryness, and oh boy. It's just you and your thoughts when you step up to that mic. They're calling your name, and you've got to go up front. And my inner critic starts, and it's got a loud voice. When they call your name, 3 things happen simultaneously. Number 1, you have instant dry mouth. Number 2, you have to pee. And number 3, you forget your language. I'm talking about your name, where you come from, the very basics of what your social security number starts with. You forget. That's gone. And then the reel that starts to play, that is your voice, and it's loud and it's nervous and it is freaking out. It questions your poem selections. It questions your wardrobe. And it picks this time to remind you of your weight. All while you're walking up to the stage and open your mouth. Breathing helps, but preparation is the key. And your old nemesis steps up. Belief in yourself. Can you do this? Are you ready for this? Am I in the right arena? What are people thinking? And another Rumi quote comes to mind. What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. And I got through it. And the people were kind. And so I've got some confirmation. But folks, I never would have done that had I stayed on the shore. You've got to wade in, and you've got to go for it. Now, wherever country you're listening to me, from wherever you're listening to me, whatever it is that you are to do in this world, it is only yours to do. And I want you to take the brakes off. And I want to get you to get physical with yourself if you have to, because please don't let the time comes, the winter of your life come, and you did not challenge yourself. You did not rise to the bait. That you let that inner critic run, baby, you're too beautiful for that. I feel you. I know that's true. So I'm going to leave you with what Rumi said that helped me to deal with the calmness of my poetry next to the loudness of everybody else and all the other things that go through my head. He says, raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder. Whatever it is that you have to do, it is your time. Now, not tomorrow. It's not promised to you. I love you, and I hope you receive this message. Hang out with us. Have some fun. We're going to have a team discussion and see what these beautiful minds bring to the table to this discussion. We're going to leave Facebook for a moment, and we're going to go to YouTube. So we're streaming live now. So Google, go to YouTube and type in IBNX Radio Network, and you can hear and see the rest of this conversation. I love you, and there's not one thing you can do about it. We'll be right back.
Thank you for tuning in to the IBNXradio.com network. Stay tuned for more positive programming with M Love and Team Purple on Live Life in the Purple. Positivity. It's a movement, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, each and every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. JC Squared on the air show featuring Jason, J-Boy, Carrie, Hooper, the Starlight, JC Squared on the air. Reason Monday is your new favorite day of the week. Music, special guest, celebrity birthday, the daily, unstructured segment, crazy holiday, and today in hip hop. IBNX Radio and the JC Squared on the air show. So much fun you didn't even realize you learned something. This message has been brought to you by Day Ray Media. Day Ray! Hey, we are your Dose of Dopeness. Come and get a fix of your favorite show with the upstanding slacker part-time rapper Apollo. It's a $10,000 smile or $10,000 in debt. Mr. 10K.
This voice, the people's choice is K-Sean. Yeah.
The voice above reason, the sound of every season, Sound DNA, and you can find us
every Wednesday,
7 to 9, only on IBNX.
Thank you so much for making the choice of positivity on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We are in a new time, but we are in the same vibe as always. High vibe, positivity. I do not mind making a fool of myself for positivity because it pays me in triple dividends. So we were talking about my progress and checking in with myself. And I hope that rang true for you. But let's see what these genius minds has to say about that, if it rang true for them, how they're doing. What's up? Who's up?
I'll go first because I saw what you did this past weekend and how you overcame so many fears and went to Augusta and South Carolina and stood on those stages and took those steps. I mean, I wasn't there, but I talked to you after each time that you went up, and I'm so darn proud of you. I want to say that when you had your first feature at Reflective Soul Series, shout out to Siobhan Toombs for getting you up on the stage for your first feature. I remember right before you were going on, I was standing next to your sister and you walked over to the two of us with these big eyes and you said, I don't remember my poem. And we just basically almost took you by the shoulders, turned you around and pushed you back over there and said, go, you'll do fine. It was a scary feeling, but you're absolutely right. I also want to note that you say that you said so many things that rang true with me, but I love that you said that pain has value because you're learning to make small piles and then have, pick them up all in big, in clumps, which is a good metaphor for how we should kind of work life. Don't run around putting out all the little fires, put things together, get organized, and pick them up all at once. And I would like some credit for being the one who's usually there. I am
the
healthy.
person that started it off was Vera. She has picked me up off the floor for years. And now
I've taken over for Vera.
I bet you won't put your hand out next time somebody hands you a baton now, won't you?
It's an honor, but I'm really grateful that I don't have back pain, and I'm always there for you. You know that.
I know.
It's cracking me up, though.
It's true. Am I lying?
No, you're not. You're not lying. It takes you like 5 minutes to bend over and pick something up, so I can understand why you need piles. And there are piles around your life.
Shut up. I used to be, it's blowing my mind. I used to be athletic. I used to just do stuff.
I know.
I used to just do like this. I remember somebody was driving and I wanted to put my arm behind my head and I went, ow! And you were driving. And then you said, what's wrong? And I said, I just hurt myself. And you said, what you doing? I said, I put my hand behind. And you said, don't do it. And I thought, at what age can you not put your left hand behind your head? Like, where's the manual on that? I didn't get the memo.
I know. That's why I'm so grateful, and that's why I move every day, and I say, yes, I can move, I'm not in pain, and I'm more than willing to pick up things for you and run around in circles around everyone as long as I can. I'm grateful, so good for
But
you.
now you faced some challenges. You've gotten on mics and stages. When did you realize that you could do that?
I still don't know I can do it. I still say I can't. And there's these little voices in my head that say, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're not good enough. You're stupid. Nobody's going to listen to you. You have no value. It goes on and on. The tapes have been there for years and years. They started since before I could probably speak. So I overcome that regularly by playing new tapes and filling my mind with the positive and the gratefuls and the encouragement and surrounding myself with people who are encouraging me. And I also try to see myself through other people's eyes because I don't believe my own self. So I put the people that I trust around me and I believe what they say about me and I move forward on that.
I'm going to have to add a little notation to that. We have to choke hold you to get you to say thank you after a compliment. So you're getting there.
I'm working on it.
I know. Say it. Let's go now. Marilyn, you have done so great. You produced the show today and got everything set up. I'm so organized. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Hold on. I got this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Fist bump. Yes, let's do that. Coming on around the room. What's up, Rebel Queen?
Hey, what's
I'm glad you're
up?
back with us.
I am so glad to be back. It always feels like I'm just grieving when I'm gone because I
thank
just
you.
miss the energy of the studio so much. As usual, your love speaks. It's just prolific. You know, you were digging, and this time we weren't really talking that much because we've been busy.
We've been busy. We didn't talk. Usually, yeah.
Right. So, and I've got Rumi for my piece today, of course.
Cool.
I dug a piece of Rumi out, and I think it's a little bit in your backyard. But you said some things that really resonated with me. Breaking up with bacon. Girl, you know, but
I'm walking like this now.
you know, and I can identify with that because I honestly, I like vegetarian cooking. I enjoy it. It's fun. But the one thing that stops me is I refuse to break up with bacon. And so when you said that, it just started kind of taking me down. I mean, it seems like something small, right? But when you started going into these little things, these little voices in your head that keep you from taking an opportunity, you know, it could be something. And for me, it's also my health. I have other things going on that a plant-based diet would really help. Right? So why not? Why I'm listening to these voices. And you said, that what you said was really important. And then Marilyn, you mentioned something about the voices starting for you from the time that you were little. So it kind of lets me know that there's something that's always present with us, always going on.
Yeah.
And when we come to acknowledge that, then we have the opportunity to tackle it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point. It's not going to stop. That's the point I want our listeners to get. There's not going to be a moment like walking out of the woods into a clearing and there it is. No, it's there. You have got to plant your feet and say, I'm doing this. We are too beautiful not to. We have some genius in this room. From the sound of our voice and to those people listening, our next great everything is out there, undiscovered. But we're holding ourselves back because we're afraid. And people don't do what they're afraid to do. Like, people don't do what hurts. That's why we need doctors and nurses to go, set that bone, right? Because we won't do it.
Right.
We'll walk like this for the rest of our lives before we do that. So, yeah. So let's come on around the room and get our lovely guest that she feels like sounding in on that. Miss Melissa Carter, what say you?
So I think listening to everybody, it's yes, yes, and yes. And I think the theme that I pulled from all that, and those were beautiful Rumi quotes, is that fear is an illusion. So there are things you physically should be afraid of. You should be afraid if a rattlesnake comes to you. You should be afraid if you're at the edge of a cliff, physically at the edge of a cliff. You should be, your body has survival instincts. I think the problem with modern society and the fact that we as human beings don't have to fight for our territory, fight for our food, our ancestors had to be afraid most of the time to hone their skills and make sure they eat and were able to sleep and their children were protected. We don't have that problem now. So it's almost as if we've evolved in a negative way as human beings to be afraid of things that will not kill us.
Right.
So we're afraid to get up on a stage. We're afraid to tell somebody how we really feel about something. We're afraid to break up with somebody. When it's almost like it elicits the same sensations in our bodies, but we have to, like you've all said, mentally realize it's an illusion. Like, you got up on that stage and you were successful and nobody tried to kill you.
No.
Like bacon isn't going to come back after you and haunt you. You know what I mean? Like, but somehow we have this visceral response that we have the same fear that we would if we were in front of a rattlesnake. And so if we can just realize that, breathe, realize it's an illusion, and walk past that vapor that is the fear, you can do anything.
Thank you. You're right. Thank you. We have to test that. I appreciate all of the comments, and this is a place, I don't know if I said this, I don't think I did, no judgment. Just say what's on your mind, because that's how we get to our next levels. So that you will find in our conversations on this show that there is it's very much camaraderie. That's why I can say, the things I say, because I'm free to. The people that I've invited along this ride with me have given me, have allowed me to do that. And so please surround yourself with people who believe in you. As Rumi also said, light yourself on fire, I think he said, and have people around you that fan your flames. So we thank you for that. We've got an interview for you. We've got new music for you. It is the amazing Kia Nicole, and we are going to get her on now. Okay, awesome. Let me do that now. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself, but let me tell you, she came on this show visiting from Jacksonville, Florida, when it was my first year, I think, and I probably was lousy. But she was so sweet and so nice, and she has chosen this platform to debut her new music. And so this time is no exception. So y'all give some love to Miss Kia Nicole.
Yay! Welcome!
Hey, hey. It's going great. Thank you. So you guys still swinging down there, first of all. You all right? After the...
I'm good. No damage where I am. I mean, there's some flooding in the area, but I'm all good. Thanks for asking.
Yes, ma'am. You are amazing. You're amazing. I love your voice. I have from the first time I saw it. Shout out to our girl who introduced us, because McNeil. Yeah, because when she sent me the video of you singing on a local TV, I was like, oh my gosh, I can know somebody that sings like that. And you're continuing to work on your craft and keep working. What are you up to now?
Well, up to right now, actually, I'm at work right now. No, I'm just kidding. But, I'm still writing music. Music and education, those are my two passions. But right now, I am about to release an album in November. That's a holiday album, something I've never done before. I've been on a couple of holiday albums, but nothing of my own. And I'm really excited about that. But I do have a single that's coming out this Friday, and it's the title track from the album. And I'm just really excited about music as a whole.
All right, and it comes through in your voice. I can hear that. How about you do this?
Yeah.
Go ahead and intro the song for us. We'll play it, and then we'll wrap up with you because I know you got to get back to those children.
No, it's okay. I got time.
Okay. So yeah, we wanna hear the song.
Right.
Yeah. So go ahead and intro it for us.
All right. You want me to intro it?
I sure do.
Okay. Listen up, everybody. This is Kia Nicole, and you're about to listen to my new single entitled "Love Is What We Need." Make sure you go and check it out.
All right.
Seems like the perfect time to gather around the ones that love you, whether it's your family or the special one you want to see. All of the smiling faces, feel all the warm embraces, and all the joy that they bring. Nothing else is satisfying. From the beginning to the end of each year, each moment that we share, sure we feel what you need. It doesn't take a holiday to bring us near. To feel the love is all we need. It's right here, right here. Love is what we need. Nothing else completes. Complete. Love is what we need. Nothing else compares. Love is what we need. Nothing else completes. And this don't wanna spend time on the hypothetically, like if you weren't here. Tell me, where would I be? Since we got the time, let's enjoy the company. 'Cause all the love we need is right here, right here. Love is what we need. Nothing else complete. Nothing else complete. Love is what we need. Nothing else compares. Doesn't compare. Love is what we need. Nothing else completes. In this life, seems like the perfect time to understand the things that love do. We got to say with the actions, let it be the reason for all we do. Love covers city races, fills the void and replaces. With real love, there's no mistaking. Nothing else is satisfying.
We're back. Okay, we're back. Thank you so much. I love that. I hope you enjoyed that. That was Love Is All We Need. And that is Ms. Kia Nicole, indie artist. Can I say indie artist? Are you signed yet?
No, I'm not signed. I'm still an indie artist. I like being an indie artist, actually.
Awesome. I love indie artists. My opinion, I love the rawness of it. I love the fact that no one is checking you to say, nah, don't say that. We don't think that'll hit. I think they told Beyonce that on one of her albums, and every song off of it was a hit. So,
wow.
Yeah. So this song, Love Is All We Need, of course is a true statement. It is a true statement, Kia. And what prompted you to write that, though?
That particularly, just thinking about and seeing all of the things that are happening in general all across the world, and just understanding the notion of love. Like, we need to love more in a pure state. We honestly need to love more. And in the song, I talk about, all the different forms of love. We have to understand what love is as a whole. That very last verse, the outro part, it speaks a lot. And if we were to understand what love really is, we'll understand that love satisfies everything. Because a lot of us are out here just empty. We're running up empty every day, and it's because we don't have enough love in our life. Some of us, we don't have enough sleep. I get it, but ultimately we have to understand the power of love.
Yes. Yes, you're right. You're right. And there are people who scoff at that, but I'm not judging or anything like that. I'm just saying, because I know we were talking about this in some form earlier, and I'm always thinking about it when I write about my progress on my life through poetry. It's my chance to be open, and then I got to decide, should I share that? But whatever I share, I try to lead with positivity. Lead with it, and I leave them with positivity, because when we write as writers, and you can attest to this, we are sharing a part of ourselves that's painful sometimes.
Exactly.
And I don't want to leave you in that pain. You know? So, like they said, if when you wrote it, if you cried, when they read it, they'll cry. But I don't want to leave you like that.
Right. Right. Yeah, I completely understand it, and we have to walk in that true authenticity, because we do have a great responsibility to the people that are listening and reading and hearing what we have. They receive everything that we put out there into the universe, so we have to take that great responsibility, and we have to make sure that we are promoting things that free individuals, because that is so important. A lot of us are oppressed or in bondage because of all the weight that we put on ourselves. But I mean, for me, if you love, you know what I'm saying, that's the way. And to love something that you're doing, and you're going to want to share, so that love shares itself by way of what you're doing. So it's so much involved in it.
Wow. One of the team members wants to address you.
Hey Kia, this is Marilyn, and I met you. I actually got one of your buttons, and it's I met you back down in Florida when M Love went down.
I can't hear.
Oh, she can't hear me because she's on the phone.
Oh. You gotta have it right there.
So I met you when we came to Florida, and M Love was hosting a play, and I have one of your buttons, and I love your music. But what I want to say to you and help our audience understand is you're working a job, and that's kind of what it takes in life to follow the dream. And I want to give you kudos, because this is not just hard work. This is hard work plus another full-time hard work job, plus passion, plus dreaming, plus no free time, and spending every penny you got doing what it is you know you have to do. But hey, tell us a little bit how that feels.
It really does. But I have to stay motivated, because I understand partially what my purpose is in the world, and until I've lived out this particular purpose and found another one, I have to do this one wholeheartedly. On my last album, There's Still Time, I talked about this time I'll get it right. So actually my passion has grown so much within the past year for what I do, but it's because we have that great responsibility to give back to the world, you know, and like I said, education is my other passion. So I'm actually a reading coach out of school, so I took time off of, time in my office away from teaching my teachers, just to display the love that I have for music as well. But I mean, it's a responsibility, and if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then somebody may not get what they need, whether it's in education or whether it's in music. So I just have to keep pushing, no matter how tired, no matter how drained, no matter how much money I don't have. I just have to continue doing this.
I appreciate that, because you understand that although it's art and sometimes portions of the world, society, our education system doesn't always appreciate art the way, and they don't. Right. There's a whole generation that didn't get it. Several generations that didn't get it. But if you love, this is my opinion, so correct me, if I'm doing something, even though that is not my life's work, but I'm passionate about something, I got that fire for something, like you have for music, and while you're working your day job, that kind of leaches over, and you understand how to give your very best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because all of that intertwines together. I found for years I tried to separate music away from education, but it always found its way back into the workplace, as I call it. But it's just because I'm passionate about both of those things. So whatever it is that's inside of you, no matter where you are, it's just going to come out of you, and people will benefit from it. And don't try to compartmentalize. When it comes to passion, don't try to compartmentalize it and say, "Oh, I can't do this here, I can't do that there. Whoever you are, you be that person because somebody will benefit from that shining light.
Oh, thank you. I needed those words. I don't know if you got a chance to hear the first part of the show. The Love Speaks was talking about my progress in getting into an arena this past weekend of people more experienced in doing poetry and award winning and whatnot. And here I come up there with my, as the song says, this little light of mine. Have you been in an arena like that with veterans, with people that are just killing it, and then you step up to the mic new? Did you do that?
Yeah, yes. At first it's a scary experience, you know, because it's like, do I live up to that standard? But whatever you have inside of you is what you give, and that's all you have to give, and you give it, and people receive it. So, and that's something that I had to learn. No matter what, you know, accreditations everybody else have, I still have what God has given me, and that's credit enough.
Wow. I'm going to take those words of wisdom from someone so young, but yet so wise. So wise. And I love it that we're all each other's teachers, Kia. Thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you for choosing Live Life in the Purple to drop your song, and we're going to keep playing it if you don't mind.
Yes.
We're gonna do that for you.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And if I can say something else, the assignment of love, because a lot of times when we love others, we love it out of possession, or we love it out of, it's something I'm supposed to do, but I don't necessarily know how to do it. But if we just take on the assignment of love and just do it in its purity, so much will be given to us without us even having to ask for it. And so that's what the song is about, if we just love in that purity. But also the album that I'll be releasing in November, which is a holiday album. The album is actually called On Love, a holiday album. So everything that you do it on love, or you could say in love.
Got it.
But on love is what it's all about. And so all of the tracks on there just talk about some form of love. Wow. Whether it's loving family, loving God, loving yourself. Just the whole embodiment of love, because if we think about it, the holiday season is all about love. But a lot of times we stay away from others because we're holding grudges, because we dislike or whatever it may be. But if we would just act in love and fake it till you make it. If you don't know how to do it, then try something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just keep, it broken and not do anything, but just try something. But if we do everything on love, then everything just kind of works out, and we get free and we get happy.
Wow. I love that. Thank you. Can you give us when can people get the single, and exactly when will your holiday album be available?
Okay, so mid-November is when the holiday album will be available, and it'll be on all music distribution sites. Friday is when everybody can access the single. It'll be on CD Baby right now, and it's trickling out to all of the music distribution sites, digital distribution sites. But you can also hit it up on Reverb Nation, Kia Nicole Music, or you can go to SoundCloud, and I have Kia Nicole Music is on there too. So definitely make sure, you all look out for the single. I'll also be dropping the video for the single next month, mid-October. The video for the single Love Is What We Need, that'll be out. So it's a lot of great things. But if you link into me on social media, so you are on Facebook, and do the Kia Nicole Music page, you can access all of my information there, or even on Instagram, on the Kia Nicole Music, and on Twitter, Kia Nicole 1. So I'm accessible, y'all. Matter of fact, you can Google me. If you Google Kia Nicole, KIANICOLE.
All right.
You can Google me, and all of my music and everything pops up. So it's real easy to stay connected. You just got to get connected.
Thank you, and thank you so much. We appreciate you very much. We're going to keep talking about you and keep your music. You take care and stay in the purple, love, because you are definitely one of those special people. We appreciate you, Kia. Y'all give some love to Kia Nicole, Kia Nicole Music. Get that single.
Thank you all.
All right, love. Peace. Peace out. We'll talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
That was Miss Kia Nicole, all the way from Jacksonville, Florida, doing her thing still. So we are going to continue on with the show. I'll remind you of that single and where you can get it later on. We are going to go right into Rebel Queen. This is Teen Talk. This time, leading with Rebel Queen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I wanted to talk to you today about an experience I had about 2 weeks ago that was absolutely amazing. I had the opportunity to attend what's called Respect Institute. I don't know if anybody has heard of that, but it is a, I guess I can say it's a program. It's a 3-day seminar that you attend, and it teaches people how to tell their story. And it seems like something that's really small, right? Like, you know, but when you think about it, we all have a story. And I want to dial it back a little bit to what you talked about in your Love Speaks. I think a lot of it has to do with the voices. The voices that we hear. Marilyn mentioned that sometimes that starts even, as long as you can remember, right?
Yeah, we learn things before we have language to speak it.
That's right. That's right. So we have stories, and you know, I think a lot of times people think when you think about things like PTSD and all these things, people think, you know, everyone that has it had some horrific experience, and that if my experience wasn't horrific, then I really don't have a story to tell.
True. That is a true statement.
And we think that, but that is so far from the truth. Everybody doesn't have to have a traumatic experience. Some people have experiences that teach them something different, right? About life. It teaches them, you know, maybe I'm not good enough, you know, and it's not traumatic in a physical way, but I think that one of the things that we're getting more awareness of is becoming aware of how we become emotionally traumatized by things, right? We're so insensitive, and I think that sensitive people don't really have a good place to be in a society where you're taught to toughen up. So people that were genuinely soft and sensitive, they can be injured too, just emotionally, and still have a story to tell, you know? So the thing about this Respect Institute, which is so amazing, it's done in partnership. I have here, I'll just show this to you guys. You don't have so I know everybody can't really see it on camera, but there's a format of a 3-day seminar, and over the course of 3 days, you sit in a room with about 9 other people, and the instructor. The instructor is Joel Slack, who is the founder of the Respect Institute, and I'm going to give you a little background on that in a second. Over the course of these 3 days, you go from somebody asking you, what is your story? And you have about 10 minutes to talk and tell your story off the top of your head, right? Nobody's asked you that. Most of the time in our society, when somebody wants to know, you know, how are you doing? Nobody really cares how you're really doing. They just expect you to say, well, I'm fine. You know, you keep moving on. Nobody's really interested in your story, so nobody's prepared to share anything about their experiences on tap. So in the course of 3 days, you go from that moment on day 1 to by the end of day 3, you've managed to put your story in a clear and concise format, and in a speech that is 10 minutes long. And this is for the purpose of, well, inner clarity for most of us. After you take the course, you're invited to go speak publicly and share your story. The reason why this is so significant is because people's stories are a reflection of life. They're a reflection of policy in our society. Things that are institutionalized, things can be systemic. All of those things are evidence in our stories and what we can regurgitate as our experiences. So imagine when you have a community of people that have dealt with addiction that can now tell their story in front of lawmakers, in front of decision makers. It's monumental in the way that we look at mental health, and it's monumental in breaking down the stigma that goes towards mental illness. We get a picture of mental illness, and I know this is Georgia, and we understand the history here of Milledgeville, and we think about people in these insane asylums, and we think that most people that have mental illness are just totally out of touch with their faculties, and that's not true, right?
So then those who are dealing with mental illness get the tool to be able to speak about it and to be able to bring it to those who can make a difference in laws.
Not just mental illness, but anyone that has any experience with anything. So you can be a person that, well, and again, because addiction is, people that have dealt with addiction is what you see coming through that. Lots of times that co-occurs with the mental illness, so it's known as a dual diagnosis. Then you have people that have had other experiences with intellectual disabilities. So that's a little bit different, but they have a story to tell nonetheless, because, you know, when we don't fit into a certain bucket, we get marginalized.
Like also sexual assault, domestic violence, those kinds of things.
All of those
drug
things.
abuse, everything.
All of those things.
In the bucket. Everyone has a story somewhere.
We have a huge LGBT community that there are children living under bridges that have stories of how they can't go home. They need to be aware. Policy needs to be aware that these are real people.
Right, and that's where the magic happens. So far to date, Respect Institute has over 900 graduates, of which I was in the graduating class 2 weeks ago. Woo! Got my little certificate here.
Wait, let me see it. I know you got it. You know you want to show it off.
Okay, yeah. I kept see, look my
you can do it, baby. Yes, you did it.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it out.
Oh, that's okay. That's
come
okay.
out to clap for you.
Well, I trust there'll be plenty other opportunities, because after, it's not mandatory, but after you have been versed in telling your story, so many people have managed to do it in such a poignant way. That's where you're encouraged to go out and speak.
I gotta say, when you told me that what it was about, I had a moment of, because you speak so well.
Right, I was thinking
and
that
she's
too.
such an advocate.
Yeah, you're already a social activist.
Yeah, you didn't. You've never had. You never told your story that way before. Like you never had, encapsulated it.
I'd never because when I think of my story is complex. Right. It's so complex, and I had to, over the course of 3 days, I managed to dig into this fog, this cloud of memory I have, and pick out important things that highlighted a story, my story, while still paying respect to the people around me. And I made a bunch of friends, really good friends, in that short period of time. And so I wanted to highlight and talk about Respect Institute today, so I can help encourage everyone. I mean, I think it doesn't cost anything.
Oh, really?
No, it doesn't cost anything. And this Respect Institute of Georgia is done in partnership with the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health. Raise the roof, right? That's very transformative. Lots of people think state agencies are archaic, and while there are some truths to that, Georgia is really making strides and mounds in the concept of recovery and promoting for mental illness and promoting wellness and recovery for everyone. So also with Slack Consulting, Joel Slack is the founder of Respect Institute, and they've been doing this for about 15 years now.
Wow.
So as I said earlier, they've graduated over about 900 people, and I think the audience has now officially capped 100,000 people they've spoken to. And this is stories that get delivered in front of lawmakers, they get delivered in front of law enforcement. That's important, right? Recovery, all of these things, it's integral to our society. When we have examples of police departments that don't have law enforcement officers that are trained in crisis intervention, that has an impact on the community.
I think that what you're saying too is significant, because when you have someone who's dealing with depression or dealing with suicide prevention, and they actually are going through it and are able to get up in front of lawmakers and others who are in power and express themselves clearly, they have more validity than just people trying to advocate for each other.
Absolutely. It's the lived experience that is impactful. That's what it is. It's the lived experience, and it's the same thing, the same concept that Georgia has with the Georgia Certified Peer Specialist Project. It's not your credentials as whatever it is that you've done in life that make you a CPS. It is your lived experience as a person that has either lived with addiction and in recovery from it, or lived with addiction and mental illness.
This is a good time for you to explain what your segment Hope Speaks is about. Do you mind?
I surely don't mind. My segment, Hope Speaks, is all about coming back. Right? Everybody has things. Initially, when I started the segment, I was thinking, let's make it about mental health. because it's in a state of crisis where a lot of us are not dealing with it. But when you look at it, people that deal with physical illness, people that have been in car accidents and dealt with traumatic brain injury or, major spinal injuries, things like that, there's a whole process that you go through, and you have to come back from that after your life has been disrupted. So that's what Hope Speaks is about. It's about providing inspiration to people that have been through something, anything that has altered the course of your life, and you had to literally just pick yourself up and start over. I had to do that, and I've had to do it, and it was hard, it was difficult, but wow, I'm here.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
So, and you're here for a purpose, because you do advocate not only for mental health, but many other issues, and you're out there in the community. And to see your face light up as you know that you have something else that you can be more concrete with, and also share the Respect Institute with others. I see your excitement. I didn't know exactly what you were talking about. I heard you saying it, I overheard it, and then I was like, oh, this is what it is. This is hope. This is hope for all.
This is, and it's exciting. I've been asked. I just graduated 2 weeks ago, but I've been asked to speak in front of the commissioner.
Of course you have.
Of course you have. At the Department of Behavioral Health. Commissioner Judy Fitzgerald, and then also I'll be speaking at a behavioral health symposium, Lake Lanier, first week in October.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it is, and this is to a crowd of a couple of hundred mental health professionals. So I get to share my story and shape how someone else's treatment.
Doesn't it feel good to have some muscle?
Yeah.
You had it all along. Is there a little bit of atrophy, but to work, and that's why going through things is not always bad. It's the fish that swims upstream. Kind of thing. We get those muscles built up, but going through it, who wants to do that? But there's a benefit to it, and I also love that you are not keeping this to yourself. I kept my depression to myself for years because I was embarrassed and ashamed of it. But now that I know, it's become part of why I do what I do. We have to go back in for others.
We have to go back in for others, and I had to really overcome that, because there is people, when you first find out. I made my career, my living off of my mental acuity. I was a business analyst on a process engineering team, so with a broken brain. I can't do that kind of work with a broken brain if I can't remember, right? But, when I realized that it was just a blip on the radar, I wasn't broken, and that there were many ways that I could use this to enhance my life and find out some things about me that I didn't know.
I love that.
Peace. It's awesome.
I love that, Ty. I love that you use what you've been through. I tell myself over and over, as a survivor of domestic violence, I tell myself over and over, this happened for a reason. I'm supposed to, like you said, go back in and get the others. Go get them and retrieve them and bring them out with me. And it's hope. It's hope for the future, and it takes work, and it takes getting out there and speaking when it's embarrassing or shameful or whatever. Overcoming fear, right, Melissa?
Right.
And just knowing that it's not going to physically hurt us to do it.
Right.
But it is.
So I just want to leave you with my Rumi quote, because love stays in my business. The one I had that is relative is, the wound is the place where the light enters you.
Yes. Love that.
Everybody has a story. So I would just encourage everyone, go out and Google Respect Institute. Contact me, rebelqueen@gmail.com. I'll connect you, please.
And I also asked Ty, poetry is also one of her languages, so I asked her to do a piece. As I said, yes, there will be poetry. Listening to you, I have a piece also that relates. We'll get to that later, but let's cue Rebel Queen's poetry, and then we've got so much for you. We're very, very close to the top of the hour, in which you will hear History Speaks later on, but we've got some announcements and then Author Speaks. But right now, let's listen to Rebel Queen.
What is poetry to me? Poetry is love. Poetry is life. Poetry is activism. See, I started writing when I was a little girl. When I was 8 years old, my parents told me they were getting a divorce. Because of all the arguing and fighting, I thought it was my fault. It seemed like I was always at the center for some reason. So I internalized it. I started exploring my feelings. I started putting pen to paper, and I wrote down how I felt about everything I saw, everything I heard, everything I felt, everything that was going on around me. I wrote it down, and I realized that poetry became my voice. Again, poetry became activism to me. When I was in school, I realized that I was being made to feel differently because of my skin color. And this was from my teachers, the ones who were entrusted with my care. They made me feel less than I should feel, and I knew that wasn't right. So I gave myself a voice. My activism was born through my poetry, through my words, through my actions, through my lifestyle. Poetry is everything to me. Poetry is love. Poetry is light. Poetry is my passion. Poetry is the reason why I exist. Poetry is what propels me forward. Poetry is what gives me strength to get through the day, even to get through the night. Poetry is what gets me through the rough times. It gets me through the good times. Poetry gets me through everything. Poetry is my lover. Poetry is my friend. Poetry is my life. Poetry is what's up, y'all. It's what's in and what's out. Poetry is my everything. It's my day and my night. It's my joy and my happiness. Poetry is my bread and butter. Believe that. I'm a poet.
Hey, I'm Candace Reeves, director of Remember the Reason, and I listen to Live Life in the Purple with M Love on IBNX Radio Network, where they are engaging, empowering, and entertaining you positively. It's a movement, baby.
Welcome to Positive News, a place to hear the news that brings a smile, focuses on accomplishments, and sheds light on positivity in our world. This week's positive news is going to be positive news from Hurricane Irma. September the 12th, 2017. Waffle Houses reopen after Hurricane Irma, and that's a good sign. Florida Today of USA Today reports that FEMA has a Waffle House index. By Tuesday, Waffle Houses had started reopening, and that's a very good sign. Of the 5 Waffle Houses in Brevard County, only the Cocoa Beach location remained closed because of no electricity and water. Most of the 1,900 Waffle Houses are located in the southeast of the United States, meaning the company is no stranger to big storms and natural disasters. This is a fact that has not escaped the federal government. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, uses what it calls the Waffle House Index as a barometer for how well an area is recovering from a hurricane. It's a simple gauge to determine the toll Mother Nature has taken on an area. As a former FEMA administrator explains to USA Today recently, if a Waffle House is closed because there's a disaster, it's bad. We call it red. If they're open but have a limited menu, that's yellow. If they're green, we're good, keep going. You haven't found the bad stuff yet. Waffle House wears its FEMA role as a badge of honor. The company says its goal is to reopen its stores as quickly as possible after a storm passes. To do this, it brings in extra supplies and has managers on standby to help before the storm hits. The company claims getting back to business restores a sense of normalcy in storm-impacted areas. On Monday, the company was on top of its preparedness response, tweeting to customers, "Teams are on the ground in Florida assessing damage to Waffle House restaurants. Many are without power. We'll update as we open." Hurricane Irma news from September the 13th, 2017. Hurricane Irma news from September 13th, 2017. Chainsaw-wielding nun chews through debris. As Florida cleans up the damage left behind by Hurricane Irma, a nun picked up a chainsaw and started clearing trees blocking a road. Patch.com reports that a Florida nun is doing her part to clean up the wreckage left behind by Hurricane Irma. Sister Margaret Ann picked up a chainsaw outside of Archbishop Coleman F. Carroll High School in Miami and started tearing through the debris. An off-duty Miami-Dade County police officer saw the chainsaw-armed nun and posted a picture on the department's Facebook page where it has collected tens of thousands of likes and shares. The police department said these acts of kindness remind us that we are one community in Miami-Dade County, which has combined systems of governance. Thank you, sister, and all of our neighbors that are working together to get through this, the Sheriff's Department said. Hurricane Irma news from September the 15th, 2017. St. Augustine mom delivers baby at the height of Hurricane Irma. News 4 Jax reports as Hurricane Irma bore down on the Jacksonville area early Monday morning, a family got an early special delivery. The floodgates were open and Noah was coming, Priscilla Francois said. Francois was due to deliver her fourth child on September 25th, but baby Noah, whose name Francois and her husband actually chose months ago, decided he couldn't wait. During the height of the storm and harrowing conditions, Francois' water broke about 2 a.m. Monday. She said she knew right away that Noah was breech and would need to be delivered by cesarean section at a hospital, hurricane or no hurricane. Francois, her husband, and their 3 children were staying with family at World Golf Village. Gregory Francois quickly called 911, hoping the ambulance would be able to make it to his wife. We were praying that the rescue would come and get us because we were really in trouble. The ambulance did show up in the middle of the storm, and the rescue workers let Priscilla know there was little hope of keeping her dry as they put her into the vehicle. They told me, "You are going to get soaked, you are going to get wet," and my sister-in-law threw a poncho over me. I could barely hold it down. The wind was insane. I can't believe this is happening to us, Priscilla said. Despite the unbelievable circumstances, the rescue workers managed the 40-minute drive to get Priscilla to Flagler Hospital. The firefighter rescue man next to me was driving very, very carefully, Gregory, her husband, said. There were limbs everywhere, branches, debris all over the road. It was flooding on the streets. The hospital was running on a backup generator, and there was no air conditioning for the medical staff or Priscilla. But Noah was delivered safely at 4 a.m. Priscilla said she hopes Noah, whose name means comfort and rest, always knows he was a miracle. It was God just having his hand on us in the middle of the storm, she said. We are so blessed. We hope that you enjoyed positive news and that the stories put a smile on your face. We here at Live Life in the Purple encourage you to be inspired to create your own positive news in the world. Positivity, it's a movement, baby.
Thank you so much for that, Marilyn. Marilyn scours between the two of us the internet and to find the very best to bring to you. And that's what you should do to people you love, right? Give them the best.
And I know I'm jumping in, but I just wanted to say with those great stories on the theme that everybody's talked about, it made me think that emergency crews, first responders, don't shine unless something bad's happening. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
any attention.
So it's the theme that y'all are saying is like, we can shine our brightest and be the heroes, but only when adversity we're faced with it. Anyway, it's just a thought I had.
No,
I
like it.
I'm telling you.
I like it because I'm a nurse, so I understand, and it's we are shining all the time, actually, but we don't get the light shined on us unless something goes wrong or unless there's some sort of major catastrophe. So it's nice to be shined positively.
So at the top of the hour, we still have lots more for you coming up. We're sitting on pins and needles because Up Who Speaks is coming up, hosted by Ms. Marilyn, our very own Sunshine Girl, pom-pom waving and all. I'm not joking. So she's coming up with her Author Speak, interviewing Melissa Carter. But I just have a couple of things to put in your ear. If you love what you hear here on IBNX, Live Life in the Purple, please tune in to our other shows that are during the week. A variety of different, for your flavor, whatever your flavor is, we've got it. We've also got the music that you want to hear, 24/7 music channels. Go to IBNXradio.com and check it out. Also, this is going to be the 4th year that IBNX has been in existence, and just a shout out to our chief and leader, Missing Link, just an amazing person, and her energy fuels this place. So we are going to be out and about as a team. Come out and hang out with us right there in Alpharetta at Andretti's in Marietta. So it's hosted by our very own Jason J. Boy Carey. He hosts his show on Monday night. He's hosting us. They've got appetizer selections, and the whole team will be in the building, broadcasting live with many guests. Wow. So they've got go-karts, laser tag, bowling, games, food, and drinks. The address is 1255 Roswell Road in Marietta. So it's free admission. All arcade games are free that night, and $5 drink specials. So come out and join us as IBNX celebrate our 4th anniversary. So we're really excited about that. I want to meet you. I want to see you. I want to hang out. I'll take a $5 drink. And now we'll just chill. All right? So that's what we're doing. Now, I'm way ahead of the game, but I'm letting you know I have been offered another feature along with some great people. So October the 20th is usually the third Friday of the month at Jensen Jewels. It's an event hosted by Vitamin D. He's our very own local poet, an amazing guy. He does impressions as well as poetry. So the place is the Exclusive Cigar Lounge, and it's in Memorial Drive, 2439 Memorial Drive in Atlanta. And so that's going to be Friday, October the 20th. And I will be featuring along with Siobhan Toombs and Bright Sun, an amazing guitarist. Reminds me of Bob Marley. So y'all come hang out with us and see me take the stage again. And we're going to bring some positivity to this place. Everybody that is on the set with me have great energy, and they're just real cool people. So I'm really excited about that. And yes, nervous, but you won't know it. You won't know it because y'all will be there holding me up and holding us up. So that's what I've got going on. So IBNX anniversary, my feature coming up. Anybody else, Ty, you going to be around anywhere coming up soon?
Oh boy, see, I needed to be more prepared. I just know that September 22nd, this Friday, I'll be in Fort Valley at Austin Theater. Yeah, with Rise Recovery Group, and the performance is Resiliency, Hope, and I've awful promoter of my awful. My disclaimer is I'm sick, y'all. No,
I didn't give you a heads up. We'll get you in before we end so you can do that properly, because that deserves a proper intro. What's up, Marilyn?
What's up with me? No, I don't have anything. I'm just hanging out, being supportive. I'm supportive services. Happy and supportive.
Yes, she
That's
is.
me.
Yes, she is. All right. Without further ado, we're moving right along. I cannot wait for you to hear this interview. Author Speaks with Marilyn Pierce. We'll be right back.
Come with us. Are you ready? Creativity is waiting to play with you. This is Author Speaks with Marilyn Pierce. Is it one of your dreams to write a book? When faced with that blank piece of paper, how do authors create? Author Speaks, where we interview authors to hear their stories. Is there a book in you? Welcome to the creative process. Author Speaks. Welcome to Author Speaks, the moment we've all been waiting for. I'm so excited today. This is Marilyn Pierce. I'm actually an author. That's how I met M. Love. She interviewed me on the show, and the name of my book is Groundwork Before Poundwork. And I have a segment now on the show, and I'm so pleased because if I didn't, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to invite the lovely Miss Melissa Carter to join us for Author Speaks, because among the many things she's up to, she is also an author. But officially, let me let you know that she is Miss Melissa Carter, a familiar voice in Atlanta, having been in local morning radio for 20 years. She also serves as a columnist for both the Georgia Voice and Huffington Post. Melissa just published the book, which is why she's here. The name of it is Whale of an Idea. It's available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And if you all will just join me in welcoming Miss Melissa Carter.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
Oh,
this is fantastic. And this, seriously, this space is, positivity is what you preach, and you certainly live up to it, because It's a great room to be in. I already got Rumi on my Amazon wish list. I don't think I have one of his collected works, so yeah, but it's great to be here, and thank you for letting me talk about my children's book.
Yeah, we're glad that you wrote it. I do want you to share your journey of writing the book. Why would you come up with it? Why would you choose a children's book? But let's hear a little bit about Melissa first. Okay. For anyone who doesn't know you, which is hard to believe.
You're sweet.
Why don't you just give us an idea of what you did in radio and what brought you up to this point?
Sure. Well, I'm originally from the Nashville, Tennessee area, so I'm a Tennessee girl, so go Vols. So sorry if I made anybody mad in the room, and yes, I'm a little angry at Florida right now, but that's all right. But I went to the University of Tennessee. When I was a little kid, I often think that you have to look back when you're 6 or 7 years old, because you'll realize that there was something you did back there in your spare time, your imagination time, your play time, that tapped into what you really love. And if you pay enough attention, you'll see as in your adult life, you either still long for it or you end up doing that as a living. So the two things that I did when I was in elementary school is I and my neighbor, Katie Mays, pretended to write a book and publish a book on notebook paper. And then I also played on my brother's cassette tape recorder. For those youngins, there was a cassette at one time, and you could record on it, and I would use his tape recorder to pretend like I was a Nashville disc jockey. So the two things that I played around with as a kid is what I ended up doing, but it wasn't that clear of a path. In high school, I got a job at a local radio station, loved it because I knew a friend that worked there, but I always wanted to do television, so news was my passion. The conveying of information was my passion, I should say that. At the time, I felt like everybody was glued to one or two or three people who gave the news, and the ego part of me loved that everybody shut up to listen to what these people had to say. And then the intellectual part of me enjoyed learning new things every night. And this was back in the day when the newscast didn't come on till the evening, so you had to wait all day to find out what happened in the world. And so I got my degree in television news. I came to Atlanta. I worked at CNN as a secretary.
Wow.
Because I wanted to be at Turner. This is when Ted Turner was still in charge. So I wanted to be in Ted Turner's aura and I took a job as first a telemarketer and then as a secretary. And I applied to every single one of those networks. I applied to CNN. I was a secretary in the sales department, so I was able to be at the launch of Cartoon Network. I was so excited.
Cool.
Applied there, never got in. Oh. Turner Classic Movies, never got in. Headline News, never got in. So I applied and got rejected so many times. I happened to meet somebody that worked at 99X. Here in Atlanta. If you're a long-time Atlantan, 99X was an alternative radio station, and they thought I worked at CNN, and I didn't quite correct them. So I got the job as the news writer for 99X, and that's how I got my start. And in radio, the opportunity came one morning when our female host of the show was sick at her stomach when she woke up and couldn't come in. They didn't have time for a fill-in, so they asked me if I would do it, and I said absolutely. I was scared to death, but I was like absolutely, because you never get this opportunity, and that's how I ended up becoming a host. I became her permanent fill-in, and then I became a co-host on The Burt Show, and then I became a host, or afternoon news anchor at All News, and then I became a host on B98.5. So Leslie Fram throwing up is the reason my career was so successful.
And we're really grateful for that, Leslie. Wherever you are.
Thank you, Leslie.
She's an awesome woman who does promote and support people in the radio world.
She's in country music television, by the way. So she's if you're a fan of the show Nashville, she's an integral part of getting that show on the country music television network. So just letting you know, she's still out there doing stuff, and
I love her.
Doing cool stuff.
She's a wonderful, awesome person, and has been promotional for so many people, but women especially.
Right.
She's pro-women.
Right. Now, when you're talking about, but it's funny that, whoever brought it up earlier, the fact that in our culture, when you ask who is this person, you usually always talk about career. What do you do for a living? And then you make a judgment, and then you move on. I have been fortunate enough that in my professional life, I have been very successful and have not needed and have not wanted, and that's because of a team of people that have always been around me. Personal life, I am a lesbian who had a miserable time in high school because of that, being in the closet in a small town in Tennessee, because I didn't grow up in Nashville proper. I was in one of the suburbs. And then my college career, I abstained from any physical anything because I just wanted to focus on friendships and fun and let my love life slide. Then as in my 20s, I came out on 99X and I started living my life out loud. But I think because I had waited so, especially for the gay community, I think that there is a gap, at least in my generation, where you didn't get to do all that dramatic dating, juvenile things starting at 15 or 16. You ended up having to wait to do that till you're 25 or 26. So I feel like I was emotionally immature for a long time because of that. So my relationships were hit or miss. Some great women, but they were terrible, terrible relationships, and they would admit to that. And then, and I'm a single mom now, so even the mother of my child and I couldn't make it work. So I think that there's a duality with Melissa. Melissa is emotionally always seeking some kind of understanding of herself. Professionally, I have to say that's probably where my confidence lies because I've proven myself professionally, and I think in my personal life I'm always trying to gain that confidence and prove myself there, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and there's a few things that you said that are really significant, I think, for the audience to notice. That you did what you wanted to do when you were a child, and it went through college, and then you ended up in radio because you worked your way up as a secretary, because you took a lot of no's, because you were persistent and consistent, and you stayed with it, and you went where you wanted. You went from Nashville to Atlanta because you wanted to go for Turner. I mean, you pursued it. I mean, you worked at it, and you waited, and you took the negatives, you took the rejections, and I think it's also significant that you came out on the air, and in the 90s, right? It wasn't
long before Ellen. Long before Ellen. Just saying. I mean, this blonde came out. To that. She just had an anniversary party of coming out. I thought, well, where's my? I'm joking.
I think you ought to. I mean, significantly, it took a lot. I don't know any other word for it. Cojones. That's
all right. That's all right.
You did it when no one else was doing it, and so I know you've talked about it ad nauseum over the years.
That's
but
fine.
Did it?
I don't tire of talking about anything that's significant or
it was
important.
Significant. And it's an example to so many who are afraid to do what it is that it takes for whatever they're afraid of. To do that on the air and to be, I know you were in a community of people on the air with you that were loving, and I want to quote you on something that you said. You said that the most important part of media to you is the connection with people.
Yeah.
And so to go out there and do that knowing that you would have connected with a lot of people, but you were going to disconnect with a lot. How did that feel?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I don't think the disconnection happened, even though that's what I was afraid of. I can honestly tell you, and I'm not lying, that in the 20 years of my career, I have never once received hate mail for being gay. I've never once had anybody, I've had people who say, you know what, I don't understand it, but I like you, so I'll keep listening. So there was never, it was more, the funny thing is the hate mail I've received in my career has been because I'm an opinionated female. So my sexuality having nothing to do with that is my gender that has been more of an issue for people than my sexuality. But I think there's a vulnerability. I think even in that reaction, when I come across and I'm firm in what I believe as a woman, I think a lot of times people, if they don't believe it, they match the energy back. So they match that anger or they match that visceral reaction. I think when you're vulnerable and you allow yourself to say, hey, look, I'm just me, I'm doing the best I can, and I hope you can relate to that or connect with that, you find that the majority of people can connect to vulnerability. I think that if you look at the people that you love the most, it's usually people who've struggled. Even celebrities, even people you've never met. Your favorite celebrities are either people who have portrayed characters who were vulnerable or they showed vulnerability themselves. Perfect celebrities with the perfect world are so one-dimensional that I think that's why I think that's why they come a flash in a pan. I think there's a reasons that these magnificent musicians and actors and poets and sustain, because they are digging into their own depth, and I think they're shining a light on your depth. So I think that my being vulnerable and letting people know that I'm scared, but here I am, and I'm ready to be free and live my life like I've never been able to live it before, I think people can relate to that. And most people are like, well, I'll help you. What do I need to do?
Yeah, and that was a lesson you learned after you went ahead and chose to be vulnerable.
Well, it goes back to the fears and illusions. So the vapor, like usually in my mind, thoughts come up as images, and so that's why I'm always giving imagery. But like a vapor, like a fog that you have to walk through. You have no idea what's on the other end, and that's what you're afraid of. Fear comes out of not knowing what's going to happen, and you're assuming the worst is going to happen. And walking through that fog, for me, I walked through it, and there was a crowd of people on the other end that were ready to embrace me.
Amazing.
So
amazing.
And I think that even if there, and maybe there were people that didn't, but I don't pay attention to them.
Yeah.
I have family members. My immediate family was supportive. I have family members, extended family members that are not supportive, but I don't see them. I don't make the effort. I don't. My son has never met them, and it's not out of I hate you. I'm at anger. It's just I've got energy, and I've got only a certain amount of time to exert that energy, and I'm going to exert it on people that I connect with, not with people I don't connect with. So.
And you do surround yourself with those. I think it's significant that you said you surround yourself with the people who are going to receive and you'll also receive from, rather than having to waste energy in areas just because maybe you're related to someone or because you have an obligation of something made up that we need to do what it is. What is it? You said people follow people who are bright and happy. I've got quotes from you all over the place.
I love the fact that you're quoting me.
I am quoting you, Melissa Carter, because
That's fantastic.
You're beautiful. The things that
but
you
it's true. You follow light. You don't follow darkness. And also I think, I don't know, like I just feel like I'm a believer in humanity first. And I think that I've learned over time that it's almost silly to see people different. Like, I don't care about race or gender or sexuality, or tall, short, bald, not, whatever. I think, discrimination comes in my mind when I'm, attracted to somebody, and that's something I'm not, mentally doing. It's just physically I can tell, oh, well, I'm more attracted to that person than that person. But when it comes to humanity, I just find all these things so silly. The more we talk about hate and the more that people are expressing I'm better than you, I have to give credit to my baby mama. That's what I call her, because we broke up before we could marry. So we never got married, but she's not just an ex-girlfriend, she's the mother of my kids. So I called her my baby mama. And she said something to me one time I think is brilliant. And she said, the problem with the world is when one person starts believing they're better than or lesser than another. That's where all the problem. You can insert, every category that I just listed, but at the end of the day, if somebody feels they're better or worse than somebody else, that is when problems occur. If we realize we are all equal on every level, and that we may be better at something than other, meaning our skill set may be different, not better, but different. I feel like the world is like a puzzle, and God meant us to fit our pieces together. Never meant for us to compete with each other, never meant for us to look at each other with disdain. I mean, all of us were created by the same source. So whatever that source is, whatever you believe. So the fact that you would ever criticize somebody else, to me, is an insult to the person or the entity or whatever, the energy, whatever it is that made you. So that's what I think about when fear comes in. I just think, you know what? It's an illusion. It's an illusion. Nobody's better than me. Nobody's worse than me. Nobody's going to hurt me. And if they do, then maybe that was meant to be. I don't know. Like if somebody, I don't know. I just focus on the positive. That's it.
Yes, you do. It's amazing, because I guess that's how you have to. That's your MO, so that you can move forward the way that you have. And I also have to give you credit, because as we practice what you're saying, just keep on going in spite of it, surround ourselves, take steps, go through the fog, expect the best, attract positivity, that's when those patterns begin to develop, rather than the ones that tell us we can't and we shouldn't and we don't.
Well, and also I have not always been this way. I mean, I
got to practice.
Well, and I was such a scared kid. It was brought up earlier about sensitive people, and science is even discovering that sensitivity is a biological thing. They're starting to realize that sensitivity simply means that your nervous system is actually more sensitive in the true sense of the word than others. So you feel things more deeply. You get exhausted just by the world, because sometimes you're picking up on things that you don't perceive with your eyes, that you could be sensing energies in the world. And so sensitivity in our country especially has deemed it weak, which is wrong. But I was a highly sensitive kid, so I was shy and overwhelmed and afraid of everything. And so by the time the sexuality came and the pain came from women who left me for guys and women I couldn't have because they were into guys and all, just I spent so many years stressed out. And then when I was diagnosed with kidney disease in my 20s, the source of the kidney disease is probably, they don't know. It was a one-time event, so I don't have a disease that caused it. Like Selena Gomez just had a transplant. Hers was from lupus.
You are a transplant recipient.
I am a transplant recipient, but my transplant was a one-shot thing. So they think it could have been mono that I had really badly in high school that finally just.
So it didn't lead up that you didn't have long-term dialysis.
I did have dialysis for a year. I did do dialysis for a year before it, but I think my stress level and my high blood pressure contributed, and I just really think that I lived a life in which I was stressed out and afraid of the world, and then when my life was almost over and someone finally came in and saved it, is when I changed and decided that I'm given a second chance. I shouldn't be here. 15 years is the anniversary this year of my transplant.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I shouldn't be here, but I have lived more in the last 15 years than I ever did the 20, 30 years before that. I can tell you that.
Well, you took something that should have taken you down and made it something that brought you forward and upward, and you continue to share this incredible energy with so many. I'm going to just continue on with our we'll never get to what you're here for. That's your book.
I know. I'm sorry. You're talking to a radio personality who I could talk all day. I'm sorry.
I love that, which is why I didn't prepare much, because I was like, oh, I'll just say go. So let me ask you about Mr. Carter, your beautiful son. Tell us, what is it like to be a mother? What has that done into your life, and what does that do? How does that bring you energy?
I feel. There's two things I feel about motherhood. One, I never thought I'd be a mom. So I have lived so many years without that in my mind. So I don't feel like everybody should be a mom. I'm starting to believe that those who are mothers are the ones that need the most work. And the reason I say that is because having a child forces self-reflection. Because you find that you are afraid of passing on your crap to your kid. Like, you work so hard, all your insecurities come right to the surface when you have a child, because there's a part of you that's so protective and say, I don't want my child to be like me. That's why so many parents say, I don't want my child to be like me, because all you focus on is the bad. Well, your kid is not thinking that much about it. But I think that having he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I call him my lighthouse, because he lights my way. Because I am scared to death every day that something will happen to him, or I'll say something, or I'll ruin it. Like, oh, I'll ruin this perfect kid, when I realize he came as is. He came out of the womb, the man he's going to be, and it's just my job to keep him safe until he gets there and to do the best I can to help him. But I'm not his only influence. But he's right now pretty much mine.
He's blessed to have you in his life.
Well,
and you were chosen for each other. Obviously, he brings to you as quite a bit in your life, and has changed you. I see the passion. I see the love. I can hear your tearful answer. It's beautiful. Thank you. All mothers should feel this way.
Well, I vowed to be a better human being because he's in the world.
Well, thank you. So in that line, since he's in the world, of all things, you've gone back to your childhood and decided that you were going to be an author.
Yes,
Yay.
exactly.
So you wrote not just a book, but a children's book. Is that because of Mr. Carter?
Partly because of Mr. Carter. I have always been a fan of graphics. So whether it's children's book or graphic novels and comic books, like I know a lot of people find a lot of that thing childish, because in our society, in American society, we teach that if there's illustrations, that means you can't read well, which means it's a youthful thing, where that's not the case. There's so many beautiful artists that create great, the words and the pictures going together are just beautiful. So I've always enjoyed that. And then Rich Lindemann is one of the authors, and he was a former intern on The Burt Show. And he somehow recognized my creative spirit and said, I would love to do a project with you. And we got together and decided we wanted to do a children's book. Now, this was before Mr. Carter was even a thought in my mind.
Really?
He had just had his first child, and then life got in the way, and we went our separate paths, and I didn't see him for probably 8 years. And then he came back around and said, you know what? You remember we were going to do that children's book? Would you like to do that? And he said, I found an illustrator I think is the missing piece. And Kat Slade does a beautiful job on this book.
I agree.
And she is Scott Slade's daughter, if you're familiar with WSB. So it's funny how the radio connection, I didn't know Kat was Scott's daughter until we had met several times, and then she finally said, you know, I think you work with my dad.
Oh my gosh, how wild is that?
So we spent a year
Connections.
in a coffee shop. And we went to a Starbucks in Woodstock, which was center to all of us, for a year, discussing this idea. It's called Whale of an Idea, and basically it is something that kids can pick something up from, but we wanted parents to be able to get something out of it too as they're reading it to their child, because it's for a young audience. It's for your, when you're reading a bedtime story to your kid age. It's toddler age. It's not, middle school.
As a parent, I always had an inkling to pick the books that I liked. Mm-hmm. And I like this one. It's got beautiful pictures, illustrations, as you said. It also has great ideas. It's inspiring, it's encouraging, and it's not really long.
Right.
So it would be a good bedtime story.
Yes, and we purposely did that too, because Mr. Carter was here at that point, and by the time we got this done, and we wanted to make sure it was something, that was easy, and the time was appropriate. But also, when parents read this, we wanted the parent in their mind to think, well, maybe I should do something too. So basically the theme of Whale of the Idea is the whale is the biggest animal in the ocean, right? And so the idea is that even though you may be the smallest animal in the ocean, your ideas can be as big as a whale. And so it's talks about the different types of ideas you have, but the important thing is that it's your idea, and that your idea means something, and it counts. And so I wanted parents to read this and think of all those things they thought about doing when they were young, when they were in their 20s, when they were in their 30s. Oh, I let this get in the way. Oh, I had children, I didn't have time. Oh, I got this new job. We talk ourselves out of our passions so often that we wanted this book to talk you as the parent into your passion, as well as introduce your child to the fact it doesn't matter what you dream about. It doesn't matter. We purposely did not give the whale a gender because we didn't want to alienate any kid as they read this book. We didn't give it a gender, a sexuality. We didn't give it a race, so we didn't give it anything. We wanted any kid can look at this and think, you know what, my ideas are important too.
Well, ideas are important. Thank you. And I am inspired by your book. I read it. I keep it on my desk and look through it because you're right about ideas. They come, they're there, and they're available to all of us, and we kind of shoo them away because other things are important. It makes me think about you and the fact that you left radio.
Yes.
Recently. Mm-hmm. You mentioned this. The quote that I have for you is, "Never once in my career have I been hindered due to my sexuality, but gender is a different story."
Yeah.
I know that this was difficult for you to do, but yet now here you are doing many more things and capturing ideas, the book included.
Yeah.
Are you still grateful that you went for it?
Yes, absolutely. For those who don't know, I was in morning radio, like we talked about, for 20 years. I was a host on the last radio station I was on, but my name kept being listed second, even though I had more experience, even though I'd been in Atlanta for a long time. I made the jokes about if my name was Michael Carter, it'd be different. And I finally said, no, I can't. If I as a woman put up with what I find to be unfair, then all I'm doing is enabling that to happen to other people. And if any woman is getting into radio or in radio and wants her own show, much like the show I'm on right now, then you can and you should. And if you want to be the supportive cast, then you should. My goal was, it was my time to shine, I felt, because I had put my time in and I'd put the experience in, and the listeners wanted it. And I left. The contract came up and I walked away from a good paying job and a secure job, and I'm a single mom. And again, that's the thing where I could talk myself out of it for so many reasons, but guess what? I didn't, and I left, and I think I'll live a better life because of it.
I think you will too. The quote, again, I'm going to give one more quote, and then I'm going to open this up to a quick break and then bring the team in to talk.
Okay.
The quote you said was, "I left because I chose me. I'm an activist for women, therefore I have to practice what I preach, so I left." Admirable and remarkable. Thank you so much for your actions. We're going to take a quick break and be back to talk some more with the team and with Melissa Carter here on Author Speaks on the IBNX Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, each and every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. JC Squared on the air show Jason, J-Boy, Carrie, Hooper, the Socialite, JC Squared on the air. Reason, Monday is your new favorite day of the week music. Special guest, celebrity birthday, the daily student segment, crazy holiday, and today in hip-hop, IBNX Radio, and the JC Squared on the air show. So much fun, you didn't even realize you learned something. This message has been brought to you by Day Ray Media.
If you're not listening to Word of Mind Radio, then you're seriously missing out. Hosts Trey Grizzy and Nine Ether share their perspectives on everything from social issues that affect our communities to relationships and trends that affect us all. Guaranteed to teach you something new. Word of Mind is engaging.
The only way that we can do this is do it together. So I love you. We all love you.
Empowering.
Somebody dropped the ball somewhere because we want our kids to forget the struggles that we went through. But the struggles that we went through is what got us to where we are now.
And definitely entertaining.
Let's try out one of them posting names like Virtue, but back in the day they called her Dirty.
Dirty Gertie.
Dirty Gertie. Flirty Gertie. You know what I mean?
Y'all are horrible.
Yeah. Tune in and learn up every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on IBNX Radio.
Hi, this is Marilyn. We're back with the Live Life in the Purple, IBNX Radio, and the segment Author Speaks with the amazing Melissa Carter.
You were so sweet. Thank you.
Well, Melissa, what you're saying and what you're doing just aligns with what we believe in here at Live Life in the Purple, and that is going for your dreams. And what you're describing is how you did it and how difficult the journey is. We often... People may look at someone who's successful and say, well, you know, it was kind of handed to them or things went well. This is not a journey of, you were not sliding down a hill to get to where you are. You have persevered and you've fought and you've stood for things that are hard to stand up for. You've done an incredible job of being the example of the things that you say to do. So thank you for that.
Well, there's a pressure in that. I will say that broadcasting really gave me the tool to when you're in front of an audience, the audience will absolutely keep you on point, and the audience will keep you to your word. And I think that being a part of broadcast radio was a blessing because I had to make sure I was consistent and did what I said because an audience would call me to task. I think in those who are not in media, your private life, that's what good friends do. Good friends will hold you to task. If you say you want to do something and your friend believes it and then you don't do it, that good friend is the one that comes up and says, hey, wait a second, you know?
And that's another way of making ourselves accountable to ourselves.
I agree. Can I say something?
Of course.
Okay. I'm going to say something. This is me talking to Melissa Carter.
I want to open up to
the entire world to see me talk to Melissa Carter. We got folks in Thailand. We got folks all over the world watching us right now. And I so identify with everything you said. Thank you so much for doing radio for so long. Teach you to be so transparent. Like, how did you get to the point where you just one day, your life, was it because of just it had to be done, or did being a public figure help that process?
I think my goal has always been a connection with the audience. So I think different people get into being a public figure for different reasons. And I think there are some that do it because they want to be famous. And I think that that's a dangerous game to play, because it's fine to want to be famous, but you got to be famous for a reason. You have to earn that fame. I think that one-dimensional fame isn't going to last, ain't going to get you anywhere. It's a waste of opportunity. If you're famous and you have the chance to do something with it, and there's a reason why we admire the celebrities who do things, and not the ones that don't. But I think that I found that being in the public eye was cathartic. That when I was going through something and shared it, it actually disappeared out of my chest. And holding on to it, I realized was something that I was doing to myself. So when I shared it, when I shared what I was feeling, it lessened its importance, actually. And so when I got nervous, and I literally on the Burt Show, there were things that I would talk about on the Burt Show, and I would be shaking before Burt pointed to me and said, "It was your time." And that's breakups, vulnerabilities, it's always something that I wasn't proud of that I would share. And then once I shared it, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulder. So it was a great lesson.
Well, thank you for doing that, first of all. And my next comment comes from being a listener to you when you were on morning radio. And I hated to get to work because I'm like, oh, I'm here. And I remember one morning driving in, I don't know, it had been over a week, I don't know what I missed or when it, and then they were talking about your big announcement. That I'm like, what? I'm driving on Richie, what? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that? So much love and appreciation on that. The other thing, and listening to the great job Marilyn did in the interview, was the idea
It was pretty easy. It's a Melissa Carter.
Well, any Melissa is...
I'm coming in this room every day.
Thank you. Any Melissa, baby. Melissa means, queen of the honeybees, baby.
Is that really what it means? Queen of the honeybees.
Yes.
Right. All right.
Respect me mine. But being a mother,
I love that because you're both Melissas. That's why I was like, how do you know? Oh yeah, that's why you know that. Most people don't know that.
No. Being a mom, I love the emotionalism. Like most girls, had my life planned out from my pillow. We dreamed of it. And I didn't get that. I didn't get any of what I dreamed of in terms of family and longevity in family and motherhood. And part of the reason why I didn't want to be a mom was what you said. I didn't want to pass on my stuff that I had inherited and that I was living with. So congratulations on doing that and that's what we need. It's not perfect parents, it's aware parents.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't like what you went through, why would you do it to somebody else?
Right.
Has been my question.
Aware and communicative, because I don't think there's anything wrong with being honest with your kid. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being vulnerable to your kid. I haven't, my kid's only 3, so he'll turn 3 on October 1st. So I'm, he's just starting to talk. So we haven't had in-depth conversations, but there is a connection there. Children that young are aware, like they get what's going on, and he picks up on when I'm distracted and when I'm connected to him. Like I don't know, it's an odd thing, but I think that as parents, Katie, my ex, and I, we are constantly talking about how we see our reaction to him is what our parents did. So we stop. We are both in our 40s, so we talk about how we have the blessing of wisdom, and we say we're intelligent women. We should be able to intellectualize this enough and also feel it, instinctually too. But we have to stop ourselves. Because there are times where we want to react the way our parents reacted to us, and it was ineffective. And it was what they knew.
That's right. They gave us what they knew.
Yeah, and usually they were younger, especially 20-something parents. Oh. Bless your hearts. But like 40-something parents, we talk it out, and we do the best we can to make sure that we specialize the way we treat him by him, not by us.
That is a gift. He's very fortunate. I read somewhere that we were born with 2 fears: the fear of falling. What was it? The fear of being alone? I forget. This fear of falling, and the rest of the fears that we have, we borrow from other people. So thank you for being aware. Do you have any other comments? Because we've got History Speaks, and then I want to make sure and wrap it all up nicely.
Yes.
We're going to close out with Marilyn.
Thank you. Because I have a couple things we do want to promote, some of the things that Melissa's doing.
Yeah, we got.
So do you have anything, Ty?
Yeah, I am actually performing on September 22nd in Fort Valley. Oh, she got it! At Austin Theater. And the event is called Resiliency, Hope, and Empowerment, and it's using arts towards recovery. It's amazing experience. And then also I have my second feature coming up on the 26th. Ken Warner presents Soul Cafe at the Savoy Bar and Grill in Stockbridge. Show starts at 7:30, September 26th.
All right.
All right, cool. Well, let's bring it close to this wonderful Author Speaks segment, and then have some History Speaks. And then we'll be back with Melissa Carter again to wrap up Live Life in the Purple for today.
I hope you enjoyed exploring the creative process today on Author Speaks. Is there a booking you? Maybe you will be our next guest author. Find me on Facebook at Groundwork Before Poundwork. Creativity is waiting to play with you. Are you ready?
Greetings. This is Rodney Williams, educator, social activist. I'm one of the original members of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense out of Oakland, California. Welcome to my segment, History Speaks. In this segment of History Speaks, we acknowledge several events and persons directly associated with this continuing story of America. On the 17th of September, African-American inventor William Lavalette was awarded a patent for his new and improved printing press. American comedian Flip Wilson premiered and hosted the first successful weekly variety show on network television, NBC. The Flip Wilson Show started on this day. On the 18th, the United States Congress, with the Compromise of 1850, passed the Fugitive Slave Law, which required that all escaped slaves upon capture be returned to their masters. And it also required that officials and citizens of free states to cooperate with the law. That's just popped up when I think of DACA today here in 2017. Continuing, American comedian and actor Eddie Rochester Anderson was born. He became the first African-American to have a regular role on a nationwide radio program, the Jack Benny Program. Speaking before a predominantly white audience at the Cotton States and International Expo in Atlanta, Booker T. Washington delivered his famous Atlanta Compromise speech where he promised to encourage blacks to become proficient in the manual skills, to dignify and glorify common labor. His Atlanta Compromise speech also eased the fears of many whites by stating that both races can be as separate as their fingers, yet one as the hand in all things essential to mutual progress. Competing as Miss South Carolina, Kimberly Aiken became the fifth African-American to win the Miss America title at the 73rd annual 1993 Miss America pageant. American rock guitarist, singer, songwriter, my man, James Marshall, Jimi Hendrix, died on this day in Kensington, London, United Kingdom. One of my favorites is his song, The Wind Cries Mary. Beautiful tune. Jimi Hendrix. And finally, on this day, Afro-Cuban cosmonaut Arnaldo Tamayo Mendez became the first person of African descent to be launched into space aboard the Soviet Union's Soyuz 38. What finishes it? Thank you for listening to History Speaks. We're certain that you found this information valuable. You can find me on social media at Rodney Williams on Facebook. And please keep listening each week as we bring you more facts about our history. Remember, if you don't know where you came from, you aren't going to know where you're going. This is Rodney Williams, educator and social activist. You're listening to Live Life in the Purple on the IBNX Radio.com network. Positivity. It's a movement, baby.
That's right. Positivity. It is a movement. Thank you so much to Rodney for doing History Speaks and just keeping us reminded of the beautiful things that have happened, and so we can be aware of it. Black history is constant around here. Thank you, Ty, for introducing us to such an amazing person. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been on this ride with us today. It has materialized just as we dreamed it. Right, Marilyn?
Absolutely. Better than ever.
Better
we
than
just
ever.
went with the energy, and it worked perfectly.
Always. We cannot go wrong. Thank you. You know, Rodney is part of our extended team. Also, Sean Bailey, CEO of Zyla Publishing, will be on next week for his spot.
Industry
Speaks. Thank you. We should have an indie artist in studio to talk to a music publisher so that they can get the skinny on what they should be doing. That's his give back and our give back. Poetry is an amazing part of our life. It keeps me going. I'd be in the corner in the fetal position if it wasn't for poetry. And Ty did such a beautiful job of telling us about her activism connected to poetry. We've had a beautiful activist in studio, disguised as an author, disguised as a radio personality, Melissa Carter. And this entire team of IBNX gets behind our female leader, Miss Link. And we do all of this. Energy is so beautiful how it comes together and it collides and the pieces settle where they are, where they may. And we do this every week for you, our public. So I want to leave you with some reminders. First of all, we heard also from Kia Nicole, an artist out of Fort Lauderdale. We listened to her song, What We Really Need Is Love, and Love Is All We Need, sorry. So that is out starting Friday. Find her, Kia Nicole Music, everywhere. Kia Nicole Music, everywhere.
K-I-A.
K-I-A-N-I-C-O-L-E. The music video will be out mid-October, so you get to see her in action as well. And her holiday album is coming out on Love in November for the holiday season, just in time. So you can get that single, Love Is What We Need, out on CD Baby initially and then everywhere else coming up soon. So y'all support the people who bring you art, music, and poetry. With that, I'm going to leave you with a piece that I wrote.
But first we need to know about Melissa.
You're so sweet.
Melissa Carter is going to be out in the world as well. Tell us, Melissa, where you are.
Yeah. So the weekend of October 7th and 8th, I'm going to be part of the Spirit of Women Conference, spiritofwomenconference.com. And I just think that with this show and Spirit of Women Conference, the fact that women are rising up and speaking their stories is so important. Also, if you go to melissacartersays.com, that's my blog, and you'll find all future books there, podcasts that are coming up, and I've got a new show called She Persisted on the Progressive Voices Network. So I hope that you join me there in October.
Sounds great. I love it.
There's a lot going on.
I know, right?
Awesome. Glad you
Everybody's got something going on. And we need more women. We need more women to do what they do because we're bringing each other along.
We have a different journey.
We have a different journey. Yeah. So with that in mind, I hope y'all feel the struggle. Woman, the struggle is real. And you know it by the way you feel. Alone, bruised, beaten and tattered, slapped around by life, your soul is tattered. Riddled with sores inside that don't heal unless it's with tears. Copious tears that cascade and don't fade until you get still and feel. We're here. Know that. I'm the same as you. From Israel's streets to Russia's peaks, love speaks. Listen to our voices. Truth be told, we were molded from the same earth. A secret under cover of night till daybreak, mixed and shaped. Held together by Euphrates and Tigris, ancient moisture, he made a clay. Sprinkle some with cinnamon dust, some with ground cocoa, others with vanilla bean. But it's us, different yet the same. And I stand with you, outstretched hands toward you, waiting to move with you. I am you, but you knew that. That piece was in the spirit of sisterhood for all women. I hope you feel that. Continue to follow us, MLUVWALL on everything. Thank you. I got the slow snap in there from engineers. Follow Rebel Queen, Ty Davis. Is that you on everything?
Yeah, Rebel Queen the Poet, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me there.
All right. Marilyn Pierce, Vixen, Vanilla Vixen? No?
Groundwork before groundwork. Thank you. Tell us why we do this.
We do this
because
positivity. It's a movement, baby. We're out.